Hello, everybody. I think we are broadcasting live. If not, you'll catch up to us just in a minute, or we will catch up to you. We'll just have to see where that is going to. And okay, Yeoman Asher has told me that we are streaming live. I want to say it's good to have Amuela with us tonight. It's good to have Veronica Port. It's good to have my wife with us tonight. She's got a nice looking young man standing there next to her. Those of you that are looking at the live stream, you can't see that good looking young man standing next to her because she has her camera off, but trust me, it is me. And of course, our teacher tonight is Terry. I got a couple of things I want to do, some preliminary things real quick. Oh, my wife's name is Annie. I should say that. Some things I really need to take care of real fast. Here at B'nai Noach Connection with Israel and Torah for the Nations, we have a goal in mind. This platform has a goal, and I didn't present this to Terry how I was going to say this tonight, but Rabbi Pesach Sherbo has worked hard on bringing this forward, and we just want to deal with the root foundation, the simplicity. But sometimes when you think about the simplicity, and I'm going to ask you, Terry, if you'll just answer this, but I've got some charity thing I need to do. But sometimes when you think of the simplicity, people have run off and left it, so it seems real deep, but it's really not deep, is it? The simplicity of the Noahide laws or categories. It's really not. Is that true, Terry? Some people think they're
on the base level. Yes, you are correct. On the base level, there is a simplicity and a simple beauty to it, but that's not all there is to it. You can go deeper, because on the other hand, some look at the simplicity and don't think it's enough, and they want to run over and find something that's harder and think that they're actually accomplishing something. But technically, it's very simple for every person to be able to do, like you said.
Right.
And then for those who need to go deeper, they're very deep.
Yes.
So they're kind of both. They're both sides of one coin.
So here we're trying to give you a push into something. So listen, we want to also start off tonight with giving charity, giving tzedakah. If you give tzedakah, it can change you, change your family, change your community, and also change the world. I have some special things I want to give tonight in tzedakah. I want to remember tonight the Gene Franklin of blessed memory and his family. And I have some things laid out here that we're going to do tonight. I want to give special tzedakah, special charity tonight for Sally Justice. Some of you may have saw she went in for some more tests, and we want to give this tzedakah for her healing, and I believe that the Creator will do that. I also want to, I got some dollars folded up here tonight. Terry, I told you I tried to do this quick.
No, you go right ahead. This is important.
Rabbi Pesach is about to have some knee surgery, or he might have already had it. Is he there yet, Terry? Do you know? Have you heard anything from him?
I haven't heard. He just said that Hashem willing, he might pop into the class off and on over the next few weeks. So I don't know the exact date on his knee surgery, but it is coming up.
Well, we're going to give.
He hasn't done it yet.
We're going to give this tzedakah in for a speedy recovery. Also, I've got some dollars laid out here. Veronica Port, right here with us tonight. She's having some test things. She's seeing double of us. Did I say that right, Veronica? You didn't mind me saying that, didn't you? She's seeing double.
That's fine. It actually has almost totally cleared up. So Baruch Hashem.
Well, she's seeing double of me. I'm taking up the whole screen.
Veronica Ford, I want to give this tzedakah
thank you
for your healing tonight. I got some more. Hold on, I got some more. Amuel, I've had you on my mind all day long, and this tzedakah is going in for you. Just for I just had you on my mind, and I want to give this tzedakah for you tonight. I've got one more. I got one more here, Terry, and then we'll be ready to go. I got one more for Gene Kelly. I believe I've talked to Gene Kelly before, and he's up around Alaska. So, and he messaged and said, pray for his mother. And so we're going to do that. Now, here's what I want to tell you what I'm doing with this tzedakah real quick. At the end of this month, we're going to count this tzedakah, and we're going to send it to Rabbi Pesach, that it will bless Israel, that it's going to go there. So this tzedakah we've give for you tonight is on its way to Israel, to Rabbi Pesach. And we know he's going to use that correctly to help Israel. What a blessing. If we bless Israel, the Creator will bless us. Okay, Terry, I think, well, one more thing. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to Torah for the Nations. Those of you that maybe you're seeing this broadcast tonight and it was shared on another group, the beginning group is Torah for the Nations, or B'nai Noach Connection with Israel, on Facebook, and you can go find that and join that group and share these videos out and give us a thumbs up. And I think that am I doing okay, Terry? Have I covered everything pretty good? And now, without further ado, we're giving it to you.
Okay, we have been leading up for the last few weeks to the prohibition of theft. One of the Noahide laws that we've talked about, the laws of Noah, that was for all mankind. The Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, or the seven commandments for mankind. We've been leading up to that, and tonight we've got, as we go into the beginning of the prohibition of theft, like I said, the reason why we're starting there, two reasons why we're starting with this particular one first. One, in Genesis 2:16, as I've covered, and 17, it is the very thing that happened before man ate the forbidden fruit. Matter of fact, we get the prohibition of theft from that story. Real quick, the Creator planted trees in the garden, said, these are yours. And he said, there's one over here, this is not for you to take of. And if you do, there's a penalty. But it's not yours. So the Creator set a boundary. In the beginning, he set boundaries to show what he has given us and what he hasn't given us, what we don't have permission to take. And so therefore, when the fruit was taken, before it was even eaten, it was taken, it was stolen. Theft was committed. And so we even get the prohibition of theft from there. Then the other major event, the flood, said the earth was corrupt and it was full of violence and robbery. And it was the violence and the robbery, the theft, that was the signature of bringing on the flood, that generation. That theft was so rampant that it was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back on that. And so that's why we're starting there, because this is such an important. We will not cover everything there is about the prohibition of theft. There's just no way. It's very intense. Our society, it changes. And not the prohibition doesn't change, but the availability to violate it comes more, because even in a technical age, there's ways of violating that commandment that didn't exist 50 years ago. And so there's no way. You've just got to study it out. The depth of it is very intense. And I'm going to read here to you some areas that we will be getting into. These are the chapters on this in this one particular study guide that I have, or resource. Let me say it's more of a resource. course, we have the prohibition of theft we'll be getting into tonight, the basics of what it is. The laws of returning stolen objects and restitution for theft. The prohibition of aiding and having benefit from theft or buying stolen property, and laws of unintentional theft. Laws of saving oneself or one's property at the expense of another's money, taking the law into our own hands. Theft incurred by false measurements and the prohibition of cheating and misinforming another person. The prohibition of extortion and forcing a purchase. Laws of borrowing, renting, responsibilities of for an entrusted item and holding collateral for a loan. Stealing or encroaching upon real estate property. The prohibition of kidnapping and stealing and enslaving persons. The prohibition of rape and laws of taking captives. Bodily injury and damaging another person's property. The laws of delinquent debtor, one who withholds payment owed to a hired person. The laws of a worker in regard to his employer. Government authority, laws in land conquering and war. Laws of ownerless items and finding lost objects. And then maintaining peace in society by forbidden acts similar to theft. So this is just some areas in the future we will be getting into in one way or another. Now, I want to go back and just touch on a few points that I brought out when I read this introduction to this section by Rabbi Moshe Weiner, who lives in Jerusalem, Israel. He says, the prohibition of theft is unique in that it affects almost every aspect of a person's life, since humans are social beings who must deal with each other continuously in buying, selling, exchanging, etc. One is always dealing with others, either in person or remotely. Theft in its different forms causes corruption that deteriorates and endangers a society until the brink of destruction. Again, the lesson is learned by humanity in ancient times from the creation of from the generation of the flood. From what occurred to them, we see how harsh a punishment is for theft. The decree of their annihilation was only sealed because they committed rampant theft. For all of the Noahide laws, the basic command is from God himself to mankind. These are basic necessities that mankind cannot evade at any time or in any way. They were given to human beings to maintain proper existence. Therefore, you must realize that the truth of these commands is that they are for your good and the good of the whole world. And learning the details of the prohibition of theft will correct your thoughts, your actions, and you as a person. This in turn will allow you to this in turn allows you and eventually all humanity to appreciate the truth and justice of God being the king of the entire world. Now, I want you to really listen to what I'm about to read you and explain to you. Hang on to your seatbelts because I've got some stuff I need to share because of what this states. An adult non-Jew is warned about the prohibition of theft and can be subject to capital punishment in a court of law for this transgression. This applies whether one is forcibly robs or secretly steals money or any movable property or kidnaps a person or withholds the wages of an employee or other similar acts, or even an employed harvester who eats from his employer's produce without permission. For such acts, a non-Jew is liable for capital sin. And one who commits any of these types of transgressions is considered a robber. Now, before I go on any further, this comes from the Rambam. You're going to hear, and you've already heard me mention the Rambam several times. But tonight, as we begin this study, you're going to, and when we get into all of the commandments, all the 7 commandments, their details, we learn primarily from the Rambam. And so I'm going to read some stuff from his writing called the Mission of Torah. And then I'm going to introduce you to who he is. Now, let me do this. Let me do this in reverse. Let me introduce you to who he is first before I read from him. The Rambam, R-A-M-B-A-M. It's an acronym. When you're studying Jewish text, you'll come across a lot of acronyms. It's the way they shorten down the terms. You'll come word like the Rambam, the Ramban. Then you have Rashi and several others. Those are all acronyms. And once you learn what these are, then you know the people that he's speaking to. What the Rambam is, his name is Moses Maimonides. He was among the greatest of Jewish Torah scholars of all times. He made enduring contributions as a philosopher, legal codifier, physician, he was also a doctor, political advisor, and local legal authority. Throughout his lifetime, Maimonides deftly navigated parallel yet disparate worlds, serving both the Jewish and the broader communities. Maimonides was both a traditionalist and an innovator. Although he endured his share of controversy, he nevertheless came to occupy a singular, unquestioned position of reverence and annals of Jewish history. He was a man of the world. Moshe ben Maimon, that's his name. He was the son. He's Moshe, the son of Maimon. Maimon was his father, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Just forgive me if I'm not. He was born in 1138 or around the end of 1137. Maimonides is a Greek translation of Moses, son of Maimon, whereas the acronym Rambam and it is its Hebrew equivalent. He grew up in Cordoba, in what is now southern Spain. Reared in a prosperous, educated family, the young Maimonides studied traditional Jewish texts, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Midrash, under the tutelage of his father, Maimon, who himself was an acclaimed or accomplished, scholar in his own right. Maimon was an intellectual scion. He was a branch of the legendary Holocaust, which means a Jewish legal scholar. He was a scholar of Jewish law. Isaac Offsay. Maimonides also studied secular subjects like astronomy, medicine, mathematics, philosophy. He particularly was captivated by Greek philosophers of Aristotle and Plotinus. Their ideas persuaded him that reasoned inquiry was not only reconcilable with Judaism, but in fact was a central part of it. Blessed with a prodigious memory and ravenous intellectual curiosity, Maimonides adopted an expansive view of wisdom. He had little patience for those who cared more about prestige of scholars than the merits of their assertions, and as he admonished his students, you should listen to the truth, whoever may has said it, which that's something that's in the Talmud, and then also in, I believe it's in Pirkei Avot also. It says, learn from all men. Everyone has something to learn from someone. Maimonides lived under Islamic rule for his entire life, and he both benefited and suffered greatly because of this Islamic rule. Now to his great work, the Mishnah Torah, which we'll be studying parts of. It was written 1168 through 1178. Maimonides composed the Mishnah Torah, literally, which it means second Torah, or a repetition of the Torah. Over a 10-year period, continuously editing until his death, he composed 14 books, nearly 1,000 chapters. It was the first ever comprehensive code of Jewish law. In the writing of the Mishnah Torah, Maimonides drew from earlier sources, like I said, such as the Mishnah, the Tosafot, and the Midrash, and the Talmud. With an encyclopedic memory, he considered and considerable attention to both intertextually and literal aesthetics. Now, those are words that Scotty would know. So I wanted to just share with you a little bit about who the Rambam is. He is noted as one of the greatest Torah scholars in Jewish history. He had a mental capacity beyond what most people would have as far as knowing and studying and learning everything. And not only that, like I said, he was a physician. He was a physician for several government leaders in his area. He was also the spiritual leader of some pockets of the Jews in those areas of Morocco and Yemen. And so, I mean, he was a very, very, very knowledgeable man. I don't even know who you could even compare him to today with the kind of brain that he could know what he did and what he wrote, and yet he understood. He could be a doctor, a physician. He could be a legal authority in his area. He wasn't just a common man on the street like I am. And that's why we study. And when he did his Mishnah Torah, he not only brought out the Jewish halakha, the Jewish law, according to the way it was given and understood from Moses down from Mount Sinai. Included in that was the sections that deals with you and I, the non-Jews, our part of the Torah. But again, you just can't read it, open it up and read it. And just, I mean, we're going to get into that here in just a minute. You need a teacher. Scotty and I have teachers, and our teachers have teachers. I can't not pick this information up and read it and think I understand it. No, I have to go to the people of who the Rambam was, the Jewish people, to know and understand what he says, or we will misinterpret it and we will misuse it. We will twist it, and it's to our detriment. And that has happened. And I'm going to share a little bit of that here in a moment. But right now I want to share from the Rambam himself. Now, this first part is actually, it's the introduction. Find my bookmark. It's the introduction by the translator. And I was going over a little bit this with Scotty. Oh, wrong book. I laid the wrong book on top of the wrong book. They all look alike. The same book. The book covers are the same. Just got to look at the title. All righty. This is from the translator, because this was written in Hebrew. So this is from the translator who translated it in English. I'm going to read you a little bit of what he says, and then it's going to say basically the same thing when I read from the introduction from what the Rambam wrote. He goes on and says, after the revelation of Sinai, God told Moses, now you want to write this down, Exodus chapter 24, verse 12. Put that in your notes. After the revelation at Mount Sinai, God told Moses, ascend to me to the mountain and abide there. And I will give you the tablets of stone and the Torah and the Mitzvah. There are three things that God gave Moses. Most people only know of one thing because of a famous movie called The Ten Commandments. Moses coming down on the mountain, these stone tablets, but that's not everything. That was only 1/3 of what Moses received. And that's where most people stop. The Creator himself said, come to me and I'm going to give you the tablets of stone. The Torah, in some of the English, it says the law. That's the Torah. It says that in Hebrew. And the mitzvah. And they'll say the commands or the commandments. It says mitzvah in the Hebrew. God was telling him what would happen on the mountain. He would give Moses the tablets, the 10 sayings or the 10 commandments engraved on stone, the Torah and the mitzvahs. Now I'm going to go over here to the introduction where he explains what these three things are. So this is important. This is Torah study right here. It's why I think you can't read these things as a story or a Sunday school lesson or Sabbath school lesson and for the kids. This is stuff for every human being, especially the adults, in which we have failed to study these things. I know I have. Until, the last decade, I've learned the importance of not just reading. A lot of people, I read the Bible. Yeah, but have you studied it? You cannot read the Torah like you do a novel. You can't. It's not written for that purpose. Its purpose is to be studied and to be lived, because it's the owner's manual to humanity, just like your owner's manual to your lawnmower, to your toaster. It's our owner's manual. We've got to learn it. Maimonides goes on and says, the mitzvah given to Moses at Mount Sinai were all given together with their explanations, as implied in Exodus 24:12. And I will give you the tablets of stone, the Torah, and the mitzvahs. The Torah refers to the written law. The mitzvah to its explanation. The Creator's commanded us to fulfill the Torah according to the instructions of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is called the oral Torah, the oral teaching. Moses, our teacher, personally transcribed the entire Torah before he died. He gave a Torah scroll to each tribe and placed another one aside the ark of the testimony, Deuteronomy 31:26. And it states, take this Torah scroll and place it beside the ark, and it will be as a testimony. The mitzvah, i.e. the explanation of the Torah, he did not transcribe. Instead, he instructed it verbally to the elders, to Joshua, and to the totality of Israel, as Deuteronomy 31:1 states. Now, these two last, I'll repeat them again. Deuteronomy 31:26 and Deuteronomy 31:1. Be careful to observe everything that I prescribe to you. For this reason, it is called the oral Torah. You understand? Be careful to observe everything I have prescribed, not written to you, but prescribed to you. And we of the nations was not given any of that. Again, Psalms chapter 147, verses 19 and 20. This is why we have to do like it says in Zechariah 8:23. We've got to go to the Jew. We have heard that God is with them. We cannot pick this material up on our own. It has been picked up and tried to be unobserved by many of the nations for over the last 2,000 years, and we've paid the price for that. We have paid a major price of people who have taken something that wasn't theirs, thought they understood it. I'm just going to give you an example of one I cannot stand when I hear this in a movie now or in a song or someone say, because they don't know what it means. It's about what they do and what they say lets you know they're ignorant of what they're talking about. And that is an eye for an eye. Well, you poke my eye out, I'm going to poke your out. You killed my daddy, I'm going to kill you. It's treated as a verse for revenge, and it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's a monetary issue. The mitzvah tells us, the oral law tells us that it is equal weights and measures. When something happens, when you do something to someone and it causes harm or damage, then the court decides, or however it is, sets up the equal weights and measure to pay you back what that value is. What was the value that you lost? It has nothing that you poke my eye, I poke your eye out. It has nothing to do with that. Watch how many shows that's used in vengeful statements. In revengeful statements, and it has nothing to do with that. That is because people who have taken what didn't belong to them and thought they could figure it out on their own because they wasn't given the oral meaning, the explanation of what the Creator gave Moses. There is an explanation. It says it several times in the Torah. It implies that there was an explanation that's given. There are several things. I can just give you one really easy for Israel alone. The nations wasn't given the Sabbath. But see, Israel was commanded to observe the Sabbath day. It's in the 10 Commandments. Okay, when that was given, there was over 3 million people standing on the mountain. So did that tell you that there were 3 million different ways of observing the Sabbath that everybody could figure out how to do it on their own? It would be chaos. People would be fighting. No, this is what it is. This one, no. The Creator told Moses, when you tell them to observe this or observe that, this is what it means. That's why it is important for us to go to the Jews when we read, even I'm fixing to get into, when we read that the law, that the prohibition of theft, when violated, you are liable for a capital punishment. We're going to get into and understand what that means, because I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to get ahead of myself. And so we see here in the introduction that there is more to this. There's the tablets that a lot of people want to go around. One, they look at any list. I've said this before. Look at any list of the 10 Commandments, and I guarantee you, 100% of the time, go into your local church, look at the plaque, the first part of the first commandment's missing. There's a reason why it's missing, and I'm not going to get into that. Let you think about it. But go read it and then go back to your Torah in Exodus 20 and read it and see what's missing. But the first half of the first commandment's gone. There's just so many things that we have taken and misused, twisted, tampered with. This is part of coming back. This is coming back to Genesis. back to where we belong. And to understand this, we've got to turn to Israel, as the Creator said in Zechariah 8:23. But so many people deal with the tablets of stone, and they want to negate the Torah and the Mitzvah. They want to throw out 3 or 2/3 of the message that God gave Moses, which we didn't get it. We have to go to Israel. And when Israel tells us that, oh no, we want to buck against that, but we can't. Well, I mean, I guess you can. It's free will. But you see where it's got us the last 2,000 years. When we want to put statues and plaques of the 10 commandments up, but we want to throw the other 2/3 out. And you can't understand the 10 without the 2/3 explanation, or you're going to make mistakes. I'd be just like putting a circular saw into a kid's hands and say, cut that board. And that's basically what it is. You've got to be taught. I had to be taught how to use a circular saw, how to use a hammer, how to use a wrench, how to work on my car. I cannot pick up my manual and read it myself and know how to do certain work on a car. You have to be trained. Then there's other aspects. I've never had the opportunity to tear into an engine, to pull out the pistons and the valves and to set them back in and put according to right torque and right millimeter measurements and stuff of everything that goes on, how intricate details inside of an engine is. If you just put it together and you're tighten this up here and there, you turn the thing on, it's going to probably fly apart because you wasn't trained in the right torque and the measurements and everything that goes in line with precise measurements of how an internal combustion engine works. And if an engine is that precise and that delicate that no Joe Blow can just pull one apart and put it back together with a set of Walmart wrenches, how more delicate and important is the Torah, the commandments of the Creator? Why do we just seem that spiritual issues is fly by night and by emotions and feelings, and we do what we please, and we give more care to things like a motor or going to a doctor? A lot of us want to get a second opinion, but we never get a second opinion when somebody gives you a spiritual teaching. And I'm telling you, every one of you, go research this. Go talk to the Jews. Go talk to the rabbis. If I've said something wrong, I apologize. Go talk to my teachers and what I'm sharing. It's this important. You know, conversion to Judaism is such a major issue that a lot of rabbis will not work with a non-Jew. Because when they do, they become their spiritual father. And when that guy messes up, the rabbi takes very personal feelings about this. It means a lot because it can affect him because he was the father and he may have incorrectly taught. I know I'm going to catch 22. I know the heat behind what I'm saying, and I want to say everything. That's why I quote the sages. I don't quote myself. Because if I quote myself, I'm going to mislead you. But I'm going to lean on people like the Rambam, who is one of the greatest Torah scholars of Israel. Matter of fact, on his grave in I believe he's buried in Tiberias. Maybe wrong there. I have to go back and look. But on his grave, it says, I think it says something like, from Moshe to Moshe, There's never been another Moses or something like that. Matter of fact, I think it may even said it on this. Be the best thing to read this right here. I think it says his epitaph. Yeah, he's buried in Tiberias. In his epitaph, yeah, from Moses to Moses, there was never arose another like Moses. He didn't write that. That's his epitaph that was written on his tombstone by those who survived him. So if it says anything to you, this who we're going to be learning from is very reliable source, the Rambam. And then we're going to be learning from the other rabbis who have learned from him. That goes even into explaining and gives us the commentary of what he's teaching for us non-Jews. As it says here, in it's kind of what I read before in by Rabbi Weiner, but the Rambam wrote in the part of the Mishnah Torah called the Laws of Kings, says a non-Jew is liable for violating the prohibition against theft, whether he stole from another non-Jew or from a Jew. This applies to one who forcibly robs an individual or steals money, a kidnapper, an employee who withholds workers' wages, and the like. Even a worker who eats from his employer's produce when he is not working. In all such cases, he is liable and is considered a robber with regard. It says, with regards to Jews, regard to the Jews, the law is different. The law is a little different. It's actually a little more detailed, which we're not going to get into that, but we're going to see that there is a difference and reason why. And it's not a negative thing toward us, believe me. It says, similarly, if a non-Jew is a non-Jew is liable for stealing an object worth less than, and I'm not going to try to pronounce this word, but the way it was explained to me, it is the lowest denomination of your currency. If you're in America, that's a penny. So whatever your lowest denomination of currency is in the nation you live in, you are liable for capital punishment for stealing less than that lowest denomination. Thus, if one non-Jew stole an object worth less than a penny and another non-Jew stole it from him, they are both executed because of it. Those are strong words. And some people they get turned off right there. Man, time flies when you're having fun. Okay. I want to deal with something because of this, because I need to deal with this before we go any further into whether it's the prohibition of theft or any other of the laws that he gave us to live by as men. And it's talking about the legal system in theory and reality. Now, you just heard that the Rambam wrote that if you stole something less than a penny, you're worthy of being executed. Okay? That seems harsh. Now let's look into this issue. It says the Torah is not only a religious system, but also a system of national, civil, and interpersonal law. As with all systems of law, it carries penalties for the violations of the law. Every legal system in the world has a penalty for the violation of its law. Whether you're in the United States, you're in Britain, you're in Canada, you're in Switzerland, if you violate a law, there's going to be a penalty. That's life. You can't get away from it. But yes, you can. You can get away from it. Don't violate. Be a law-abiding citizen. Then the penalties has nothing to do with you. We're going to be sharing about the penalties and violations of different laws as we go on. These discussions are today mainly theoretical. Understand, the penalties, the capital sin penalties, is theoretical. They're not written in stone, as we say the reason for knowing the penalties of the transgression. See, we need to study these penalties. It says it makes you liable. That doesn't mean you're going to get it, which we'll cover here in just a little bit. Just you means you're liable for it. But the reason for studying these transgressions today is so we can compare the relative severity of the transgression. A transgression with a light penalty is generally a lesser transgression than one of a severe penalty. From such comparisons, we can determine which course of action to take in pressing circumstances. The same method of analyzing of the penalties and violations is used by the Jews in the study of Jewish law. They do the same thing. Unfortunately, this discussion of penalties is necessary in the study of the Noahide laws, has sometimes given reason to anti-Semitic myths and misunderstandings. And these are most frequent, and it goes on and talks about the different questions. Well, let me say this again. Unfortunately, this discussion of penalties necessary to the study of the Noahide laws has sometimes risen in anti-Semitic myths and misunderstandings. Now I'm going to probably get a little harsh here. There are some out there who's made some videos that are anti-Noahide law. They're running around screaming and crying that we're going to set up guillotines and chop people's heads off. They're trying to defend a religious belief, but not a Torah knowledge. These people who are running around making these videos are ignorant of the Torah. They are not studied. They're not educated in the Torah. Because of what they're saying and what they're doing is proof that they do not know. They didn't go to the Jew to find out what was really being said. They picked up a book, they read something, and then they flew off the handle, making statements, making videos, making doctrines almost per se against the very law of God because they haven't studied it. They reacted with emotions and religious belief instead of with concrete knowledge. Believe it or not, don't have to believe me, search for it. Matter of fact, find for me anywhere in the Torah where God said, believe in me. But I'll tell you what you'll find. He says, know me. Yada. Know, knowledge. Knowledge is very important. Matter of fact, the word emunah, which is translated faith, does not mean faith in English. It is based on the foundation of knowledge, not belief. I know so many people say, well, I believe in this. Well, belief has nothing. You got to know. And the Creator expects us to know. And that's why I'm doing this, is to share with you. As a non-Jew, we need to know these things. We can't be going out and running around and we read a sentence or we take half of a verse and we create these statements out there that are uneducated and ignorant. That's just like a 2-year-old trying to tell an engineer how to build a bridge. 2-year-old hadn't studied and knows calculus and trigonometry and how much weight this can take and how much weight that can take. How far can we span across before we have to have a pier to support the weight? What about the winds that are coming? What about the earth shifting? All this has to be calculated in, but we don't mind getting into engineering of buildings and bridges and airplanes and ships. But when we're getting into the engineering of the Word of God, we want to treat it like a 2-year-old with a cupcake trying to take the paper off of it. Told you, Scotty, I might get a little bit. It just irritates me when I hear these things and I see these things, and you go into YouTube and type in Noah's laws and see what you come up with. And I guarantee you the people are ignorant, and they're not ignorant people, but they're ignorant of the subject because they've not studied it. And I want to tell you something. 15, 20 years ago, I was right there with you. I was actually teaching against them. I rejected them. But I can tell you I did it because I did not know them. I stand here today, or sit here, however you want to put it, because I'm beginning to know them. I'm not claiming I know them. No. I can study till there's granite above my head and I won't know them completely. But I know they're the Word of God. Once you pay, I hope some people hadn't left. I really haven't, because this is important. There is a very few transgressions of the Noahide law that incur capital punishment. Very few. As we will see, that the 7 Noahide laws include, which are 7 categories, they include categorical transgressions, for which only about a dozen specific actions incur capital punishment. By comparison, now hear me, by comparison, Jewish law has about 35 categories, which incur capital punishment with over 100 specific transgressions for which a Jew can be put to death. We have maybe a dozen. They have over 100 that they can be put to death for, that they can, C-A-N, can be put to death for. Furthermore, Noahides are only executed via beheading, the quickest and most painless method of Torah-mandated executions. Boom, it's over. It's a death of the body. Just like when God told Israel to get rid of the evil that was in their camps, had to be put out. So when someone who's a violator of the commandments among the non-Jews, they can be like the rotten apple that spoils the whole batch. You've got to get rid of it. But there's more to it than just that. It takes a righteous court to even be able to do that. And we're going to see that here in a minute, which we do not have. Jews, though, may also, and I'm not going to get into these definitions, but there's more to it than what I'm fixing to read to you in black and white English. Jews, though, may also be burned to death, strangled, or stoned. Additionally, all dozens of transgressions for which the Jews are punished with 40 lashes. Jews also can receive what's called keres. We're not given that. It means spiritual excision. One of the most severe penalties found in the Torah. We're not given that. The most we're given is our heads cut off at the highest level of penalty. Non-Jews do not receive lashes nor keres. The Torah legal system is generally more stringent in the judgment and the treatment of a Jew than a non-Jew. One of the questions is will I be put to death for transgressing the Noahide laws? The death penalty was only given, 1, in Israel, 2, when the Jews had full sovereignty over the land. 3, when the Sanhedrin was fully functional. Today, even though Israel is in the Jewish hands, this is only a political restoration. It is not at the level of a theocracy where Torah rules the land like it did in the day of King David. Furthermore, there is no Sanhedrin today to administer the death penalty. The Sanhedrin cannot be restored until the Messianic times, until the third temple is built. Another important point is that the Noahide legal system primarily charges Noahides with the administration of judgments or justice, not Jews. We have to be we judge our own. They judge their own. You can also view the things this way. If a Jew is not liable for capital punishment today, then Noahides certainly are not either. As we have seen, Jewish law is generally more severe than the Noahide law. In short, though there were times in the past when a Noahide in Israel could, in theory, receive the death penalty, it can never happen today. So why are you running around worrying about us setting up guillotines? Because it can't happen. Another question was asked. Weren't Noahides put to death more often than Jews in ancient Israel? There is no statistics as to the demographics of those executed. However, given that Noahide law cannot be more severe than Jewish law, it is a strange assumption. As well, the circumstances necessary to actually obligate someone to execution are very specific. In fact, they are so specific that execution was rarely ever decreed. See, we learn that it is a penalty, and there's a reason for that. I mean, how many parents have we got out here that's corrected their children? You do that one more time. You know, and even a lot of times we did it, we didn't get the severity of it. A few times we did. I was one of them. I was a runner. Listen to my dad's belt. It's being swung by my mama. But that was the worst, you know. But this is important. This is very important. I want you to hear this. As well as the circumstances necessary to actually obligate someone to be executed are very specific. That means it's a very serious issue to sentence someone to death. They did not do it lightly. In fact, so specific, the executions rarely actually happened, because this is what the Talmud teaches us. A court that executes at the rate of one person every 70 years is considered a murderous, bloodthirsty court. One person in 70 years. If they did 2, it was a murderous court. The commentaries explain that even one person every 70 years was frequently beyond the pale of possibility, indicating that the court was far too severe in its approach, considered as well that just because someone commits a crime deserving of the death penalty, they may not actually receive it. This is the case even in American law today. And I wanted to bring that out. This is an important thing, because we're going to read and we're going to learn in some of the details of our laws. It's going to say liable for capital punishment. Liable means that you could, this is the high, it's almost like the same thing. You get pulled over by a police officer for speeding, and there's a range depending on what was going on. Your ticket could be this, or it could be this, meaning you could be, fined to the fullest point of the law. That's what that is saying, that the fullest aspect of the law is execution. But as we've learned, the Jews have a more severe level of punishment for their transgressions than we do. And even under the most severe, they even said 1 in 70 years was too much. And if they're the ones who are teaching us what we need to do and what we need to understand, then we can follow their examples. See, one, for the Noahide laws, for us to be able to set guillotines up, one, a Noahide court would have to be established in the land by the people. And authority be given to that court by the people. That's not going on right now. 2, the court will be set up of righteous men, not bloodthirsty men. They're not going to have agendas. They can't be bribed. And Israel's going to teach us how to set up righteous courts. And things will be done by righteousness and justice. Not by vengeance and revenge and declaring the letter of the law. There's a lot more to it. And that's why I wanted to bring it out. I don't want to seem to be upset a little bit here, but when you hear these things and you watch these videos of these people making these statements, and those of us who have studied, and we're like, what? Really? All they're doing is scaring people. They're just scaring, and they don't have to be scared. You don't have to come to the Creator who gave you breath and want to observe, his commandments and your desire to observe them. The ones that will be executed are the criminals. Those who have a lifestyle of violating the law. The majority of us are not going to be lifetime criminals. If you really love the Creator, you're going to do what he says, and you're also going to make mistakes. And he's not going to thump you on the back of the head because you've made a mistake. Because it says a righteous man falls 7 times. And if we all become righteous in our striving to observe the commandments of Hashem, we're going to have periods of falling. But just how Rabbi Nachman of Breslov of blessed memory states, before every ascent, there is a descent. Just like I've explained before, those of you who have not seen it, like in a baseball pitcher, before he can throw that ball to the batter, that ball has to come back. There has to be a descent before it can make an ascent. And that's the same way in life. It's the same way in walking with the Creator. We're going to have our periods of descent, and then Rabbi Nachman goes on to say that the present descent is higher, at a higher level. Your fall today is higher than your last ascending. Do we see how beautiful this is? If you descend because you made a mistake, and you get your head chopped off, you don't have the opportunity to ascend. See, that's part of the court of justice, is to know the person. If you're a criminal and it's over and over and over again, they'll see that there is no ascending. But you take a person and you look at their life, and they're judging it not by just whims, and they're judging the person. And they're going to see that this is just a time period where that person's going through a bad spell. You're going to get the opportunity to ascend and learn from that descent. This is how it works, guys. That's how beautiful this is. I mean, it wasn't just a few days ago that I had one of those descending moments. And blessed be the Creator. I was able to ascend out of it. It took me a little bit of time, but it brought me to a point of repentance that I hadn't really reached before in that situation. And sometimes the Creator allows us to descend, because when we descend and we come out of it, we're stronger and we're closer. And that's the beauty of walking with the Creator, is that He gives us the opportunity for growth. It's only at times like the flood that they were a generation who would not ascend. So they had to be taken down. But then we come to Nineveh, which I hope to do a study on with y'all sometime. And the commandment from the Creator, it was given to a Jewish prophet to a non-Jewish city: put away your evil ways and the robbery from your hands. They were going to be destroyed, a city of over 120,000. But what did they do? They turned around. And the Creator said He saw their deeds and forgave them. He didn't just cut them off. He could have cut them off, but He didn't. And that's a lesson for all of us. The book of Jonah is a lesson for, even the Jewish people study it on Yom Kippur, one of the highest holy days of Israel. That book of a Jewish prophet in a non-Jewish nation. We need to study that book too. It's not about a man and a whale that they teach in Sunday school. The lesson of that book is on repentance before the Creator. And there's a lot there. There's a lot there in Jewish history that's not in your books. Stuff that I've been blessed to learn, and others have too, from studying it, that I hope to bring out to you one day. So I wanted to bring this issue on the death penalty that's out there, because you're going to hear it, you're going to see it. And when we read and we study these prohibitions, you're going to constantly see on some areas, like it said, is not as many as it is in the Jewish law, but you're going to read about the capital punishment. And I needed to bring this out before we get deeper into this, that it's not going to happen right now. It can't. And anytime, if you got questions about that, shoot them to Scotty. He'll get them to me. If I need to do a recap on this stuff, I will. Not a problem. Or if you want me to email you, I can email you and share more with you. But before I finish, I wanted to go into the very next session on the prohibition of theft. And that is the definition of what robbery is and the definition of what theft is. Rabbi Weiner goes on and he goes, what is considered robbery? Which is committed by a robber. This is when someone takes the money or belongings of another person by force. For example, if one forcibly took movable objects away from an owner who was beholden them, or if he committed any of the following types of acts in the view of the owner against the owner's will. He entered the owner's property and took away items, or he seized an animal and used it, and he ate some of the fruit that was grown there, or anything similar to these cases. One who commits any such forcible actions is considered a robbery. So basically, robbery is theft by force in front of the person being robbed. So what considers theft? What is a thief? This is when someone takes another person's money or belongings secretly, without the owner's awareness. One who stretches out his hands and takes money from another's pocket, a pickpocket, without the owner being aware, or a similar action. In the Noahide laws, there is no difference between a thief and between theft and robbery by a non-Jew. Therefore, in every place in this, in what we're going to be learning, and other works as well, Torah law, where either of these terms are used, these two types of actions are considered to carry equivalent liabilities for non-Jews. This is because we have one category, prohibition of theft. There's not a prohibition of theft and a prohibition of robbery. When it comes to Jewish law, it breaks it down a little bit more finer, which means it makes them more liable, like we just read earlier. But for us, a robber and a thief is a violation of, if you forcibly take something from someone or removes property of another, what another person has, you robs it, you come in with, like when you hear armed robbery and you steal somebody's money and it's a forced robbery, it is equivalent to even a theft when something's taken in secret. The penalty is the same. We have one category. And so I just wanted to, we'll continue on the issues of robbery and theft the next time, Creator willing, on that. Scotty, how's it going over there?
It's going good. I've actually got numerous questions, but we will not have time. We've been here for an hour and 13 minutes.
Oh, we have. I
no,
didn't mean to
good.
take that long.
I want to welcome Dennis. He come in late, but I want to welcome him, Humphrey. But I want to ask you there's several questions that came in that's kind of along the same basis. Okay. And I feel that it needs to be addressed while this one is asked. I've got some more. I'm going to talk to you later on in the week and see if you want to cover them or, how we want to do that. But looking at, and I'm going to give some of my terminologies and you can correct me if I give them a little oddly, but the 7, we call them commandments, mitzvot, responsibilities, connections, the categorical 7. A lot of people don't like those because they want you to obtain righteousness through a deity, not through your actions. Now, I'm treading on thin water right here. I'm treading on thin. So the 7 categorical responsibilities, connections, commandments, they are based on us connecting with the Creator or having righteousness or not doing them and having unrighteousness. Did I make those statements correct?
Yes, you made those statements correct.
Okay.
One, as I've stated before in the past, a mitzvah, a commandment of God, is the will of God. It's his 100% will.
Okay.
So when people say they want, I want to be in the will of God. Well, then don't steal, don't rob, don't have forbidden sexual relations, don't worship false idols, don't curse the Creator, don't eat meat taken from a living animal, or respect the creation. These are all acts. Yes, these are actions. And actions is what is righteousness, and what is unrighteousness. Beliefs has nothing to do with it.
Okay, let's go a step.
I probably said that too strong.
No, that was good. Let's go.
Because, you can believe in anything, but
right.
Personal belief is not righteousness. Is not the biblical. Let me put it this way: is not the biblical Torah mandate for righteousness. And I want to say this, and I'll let you continue. Go back to Genesis chapter 6. The offspring of Noah was that he was a righteous and a moral man. It was stated first. Then it says he found grace in God's eyes. Then it says Noah did everything that God commanded him to do. So therefore, the grace and the righteousness and the morality came because he did what Noah told him to do. or did I say that? Noah did what God told him to do.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
make sure I said that
Yeah.
right. Those things, that's what established his righteousness. Noah didn't say he was righteous. God did.
Correct.
Noah didn't say he was moral. God said he was moral. Noah didn't say he found grace in God's eyes. God did. And all of that happened because Noah done everything that God commanded him to do. There's a pattern there.
Okay.
Now over to you.
Okay. So, would I be correct in saying that we are in a type of training ground?
Oh, yeah. I'm in training until I'm pushing up daisies.
And would I be correct in saying that we will make mistakes?
Yes, we're students and students make mistakes.
And
I did say I made mistakes, by the way.
Yes, I'm going somewhere with this. I would love, well, I was out doing some work with one of my sons one time, and I was doing the work and he was helping me, and he said, "Dad, how did you learn how to do that?" And I said, "Well, I know 101 ways that it won't work."
Just like the light bulb.
Yeah.
How many times did it take him to, Edison to figure out how to do a light bulb? All those times it didn't work.
So when we were children, Baruch Hashem, we had parents that trained us, helped us along the way. We made mistakes. I made mistakes. Some of those was defiant. Some of those was obvious mistakes. Now I'm going somewhere with it. So I just want to, so in these 7 categorical responsibilities, connections, commandments, mitzvot, I'm going to call them whatever the category. It would be great if we could just read those one time and be able to do it. And some of us can. Some of the things like of robbery, things of that nature, it's not so much of doing it when you think of it in your mind, but then when you think the depth of it, you think, wait a minute now, I've been stealing that. Just like you was talking, some people's probably not going to get this, but you was talking about even using a company highlighter.
That was actually in my mind as you were talking. If you want me to share that real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay. As we said before, at the beginning, the 7 categorical commandments of God for mankind are very simple. They're very simple, but they are very deep as well. I don't steal. I don't consider myself a thief. So, I've got that. I don't have to worry about that. But are we? Are we thieves? Are we thieves and don't know it? Until we start meditating and pondering our actions. It's more than just walking over and taking the neighbor's shovel when he's not at home, or going up and forcing something from someone on the street that you like, or like a person stealing a purse. A purse snatcher is robbery. It's a forcible theft. It's more than that. We can say, we're good people. We don't steal. We don't rob. We do. We're and this is the example that hit me one day, and we have to be ready for this. Those people know me. I love my books, and those that know me know that I have a drawer full of highlighters. I like to highlight because I'm not blessed with an encyclopedic memory. And when certain things jump out to me, I like to highlight it. So when I'm going back, boom, it's there. I can read what I read before, and it brings back my thoughts. It's a tool for me. Well, at my work, matter of fact, right here in my pocket, I have a green highlighter. I use this at work. I was given a drawer full of these. I have to use this particular color. I work for a Toyota dealership in the parts warehouse. I package and I ship parts for Toyota, Lexus throughout the Southeast to body shops. And so there's some things I have to highlight. Like if something's on back order and I'm sending a customer invoice, I highlight the part number and I put out the side of it, this part's on back order. Or if I need to make a special note on the shipping ticket, I'll highlight it. Like if there's 2 invoices and parts in this box, I'll type that in on the label and then I highlight it. So it brings their attention. Oh, there's 2 orders, but they're in 1 box. And I do that. I was at work one day and I had a book in my lunchbox and I was done eating. So I decided to do some studying. Oh, that's cool. I reached in my pocket and I grabbed my highlighter and I started highlighting it because it's just who I am. Then it hit me right as I was starting to highlight. Oh, what did I just do? I just stole. Because this is not mine. It's not for my personal use. It's for company use. And so I had to sit there. I'm looking at my page with 2 or 3 words highlighted in green. And I thanked the Creator. I said, thank you for bringing to my mind what I just was about to do or did do. I started the process of stealing something that wasn't mine, using it for using someone else's property for my personal use without their permission. Now, if they told me I could do that, it'd been a different story. So I had to make repentance right there, right then. This is being mindful of our commandments. Even when thinking about using a highlighter for personal use, what do you have sitting at your desk at work that you use for personal use that you've not been permitted by the company to do? Oh, well, they probably wouldn't mind. No, you have to get permission. If you decide to do it on your own, it's theft. This is where it gets deep. This is where it's not just being a purse snatcher or taking something of your neighbors that when they're not looking. And this is being responsible before the Creator. Go ahead, Scotty.
Well, I was just going to say, and again, when you realize these things, it causes you to be more connected to the Creator.
Right. If the commandments are His will and you're doing His will, then you will be automatically connected to Him which commanded it.
That is awesome. Now, well, I'm not going to get into religious views. I'm not going to get into the Western world theology, but just that right there, if we could just keep in mind our goal in doing these are to be connected to the Creator.
Right.
That is awesome. I'm going to bungle this statement, but Scotty, you may remember exactly. It says something in the realm. You are close. The one who does what he is commanded is closer than he who does that was not commanded. Did I say that okay? And did I say it where it's understandable? Yeah, I think you got it across. The one who is commanded to do it, and he may fuss about doing it, but he does it, is closer than the one who wasn't commanded to do it and just takes it upon himself.
Well, it's just there's some things that people, I'm trying to say this in proper manner. What this is meaning, if God's commanded you to do something, commanded you to do it. Remember, we've talked about the law. We've talked about the law of according to species by Rabbi Hirsch. That we are commanded things. We are commanded things. The Jews are a priesthood. They're commanded things that we're not commanded. Okay. And a problem within the people who are learning to follow the Creator of the nations. They see these attractable things that looks attractive. They're not commanded to do these things. So they think, well, if I do this, I'm going to be closer to God. In all actuality, they're further away because the one who does what he is commanded is closer than one who takes on a commandment that he wasn't commanded. I hope maybe that explained it.
Yeah.
But either way, the one who does what he's commanded is close. The one who doesn't do what he was commanded is not close, regardless of what you believe.
Yeah.
Looks like, Manuela, you got something?
That would be like that. Doing something they would not command it to do would make him a thief. That would be theft.
Did you get what she said, Terry?
I think I did. But repeat it for me.
If someone does what they're not commanded to do, does that make them a thief? Is that what you're talking about, Amuela? That it makes them a thief? Like if, let's take some of the mitzvot that were commanded to the Jewish people, and I take them upon myself to do, does that make me a thief? Is that what you're,
we're going to be getting into that, because there is some stipulations on theft. It revolves around movable objects. Okay. But there's also now, like in essence, that's a theft of identity. And so we'll be getting into some of what that is. And, but yes, in essence, yeah, if you're taking something upon yourself that you weren't commanded, that somebody else was, it can be in the spirit of theft. Well, we're going to be looking at the basic element of theft is the removing of movable objects, something that can be removed from another person's possession, just like we talked about in Genesis 2:16. When she took Genesis 3:6, when she took that fruit, she stole. She took, that wasn't hers to take, and she brought it into her possession. She could have looked at it, she could have admired it, she could have done everything. But the moment she took, she committed theft before they even ate. And that's where we get the prohibition of theft, according to the Rambam. So she took a movable object, that fruit, from God's possession to her possession. And so theft really involves, in its most elementary status, of taking a movable object from another's possession.
All right. Well, Terry, we've been going for an hour and 29 minutes. So you want to just break it off right here and pick up next Wednesday?
We can, or if somebody's got something pressing.
Anybody got
it doesn't matter. I'm here.
Right.
So it's up to y'all.
Well, a question relevant to what you've taught tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on topic.
I was looking at the stream, the live stream that we're doing. We're actually streaming more than just the Facebook and the YouTube. And we had almost 48 live streams going at one time. Now we have 28. And I'm not going to tell you how many is listening on the radio, because you would just pass out. So I'm not going to tell you that at this time. So, all right. Well, does anybody have any final parting words, final question? Maybe Terry can briefly discuss it. Well, if not, remember again, these requests that we put in the tzedakah, I call it my charity can. I've got one with me all the time. I'd love to talk to you about it. If one of you want to talk about the great power of charity and tzedakah. Remember,
Scotty might just give us a class on that one Wednesday night.
Do what? I listen. I would get to talking so much it would just. So we'll be back next Wednesday night. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Pesach will not be here Sunday night. This is his last, we think, Sunday night off. Unless has it been 3 Sundays? Amuela, has it been 3 Sundays?
I think it's been 3, but
I know he's going in for surgery, so we don't
he'll
know.
let us know.
He'll let us know.
He'll post a link also.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Benay Noah, and on his personal page.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we thank you want me to go ahead and make our descent, Terry?
Yeah, go for it.
We appreciate everybody taking time to be with us tonight. Please, again, if you are watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give that thumbs up. You'll be notified of new videos from Wednesday night as well as Sunday night with Rabbi Pesach. And those of you that are on Facebook, if you're watching it and maybe it was shared to a channel and you just now, or a page and you just now saw it, follow that link back to the original page, B'nai Noach Connection with Israel, and ask to join, and we can put you in there and you'll be notified and all those good things. I'd like to thank again Amuela, Dennis, and Veronica, and my lovely wife. Her camera, Veronica's camera, and my wife's camera is not on, so you don't see them here if you're watching on the YouTube or the Facebook, because it only streams those with cameras on. One day we're going to have to talk them into putting their cameras on so everybody can see who they are. All right, everybody. Until next week, we will see you later.
Bye-bye.